Okay, so this is HyperRogue. So the last game that I ran is the simplest and most straightforward run you can imagine, and there is no RNG at all. This game is the exact opposite. So time is going to be when I hit reset. So 3, 2, 1, time. So this is a roguelike in non-Euclidean geometry. So what does that mean? So roguelike means that two things. One is that if we die, we're dead. And so I will actually turn on cheats for a second if that happens. The other thing is that it's randomly generated. Maps are very random. And so there's no such thing as a normal run of HyperRogue. There's no such thing as according to plan. I'm going to actually be entering each of these lands in a completely random order just based on what the game spawns for me. So non-Euclidean geometry, what does that mean? Well, you can see that the screen is pretty distorted. And it's... The most familiar example of non-Euclidean geometry is the surface of the Earth. Everyone knows, the Earth is a globe, and you cannot map a globe onto a flat map without distorting it. This is the opposite of a globe. This is called a hyperbolic plane. It is infinite. It is more infinite than a normal plane. And the easiest way to understand what's going on here is not quite accurate, but to say that parallel lines don't exist. So these dogs that are keeping up with me, they're running at the same speed. This is a turn-based game, but it is... the dogs are moving, one space per turn, just like me. But because of hyperbolic geometry, the chasm that's falling out behind me, they can't follow directly behind, and they have to follow alongside my path. But because there's no parallel lines, they have to take a curved path. I am now looking for an exit. The exits are randomly generated. I'm just trying to get out of here. And that is going to be the main source of RNG. So that is game over. So now I need to go into the special modes and open up creative mode.
Hey, wait a minute.
I have forgotten my cheat mode. There we go. Okay, I'm prepared. So now I've activated cheats so that I can continue the run. It's not a valid run, but it's better than just ending the run here. So this is the Hall of Mirrors. I am not going to collect any treasures until I know I have a way out of here, because this is the most dangerous land. And I'm actually going to let Glitch Cat take over from here, because this game requires a ton of concentration. I am playing it quite fast.
Hi, yes, it's me, Glitch Cat. I know very little about this game compared to SpriteGuard, but the Hall of Mirrors is indeed a dangerous spot, and it looks like you got the treasure from there, right?
I got 3 of them. I am going to need to go back.
So yeah, you want to make sure, notice that red area. Did you mention dipping? I believe that's what it's called. You want to kind of keep that red area around, because that's your... the crossroads. It connects all the other worlds, and as long as you can see that kind of red area and stay nearby it, you'll be able to find your way out of any given area that you move it into. Stop me if I'm saying something that's inaccurate.
That is absolutely correct, and that's actually one of the aspects of hyperbolic geometry that I did not touch on, which is it is much easier to get lost in the hyperbolic plane than in Euclidean geometry. Because there's just more directions to go in. And if you are even slightly wrong about the direction you're going in, you will end up miles from where you thought you were. This is the jungle. This was for a long time the hardest part of the game. Xeno has since added much harder stuff. This game was originally 10 lands. It is now 60 lands.
So you're using a technique to cut into those vines, just kind of getting close and spinning the attack wheel, right?
Yes. So this is something that the world record holder is came up with, is if you mash S and spin the attack wheel while you're fighting those IVs, this game has checkmate prevention, so you cannot move into something that will kill you. And so if you make a move that would kill you, then it will not let you make that move. And so if you're mashing S and the attack button, which is also the move button, because this is basically a one-button game, then it will only accept the inputs that are actually meaningful.
How kind.
By the way, what is the creature that you are playing as right now?
So I am playing a familiar. These are the creatures that live in the Ivory Tower, which is a land we will not go to because it is slow. I now need to figure out. I need to go to the ocean now.
Don't we
But
all?
you can play as a male human, a female human, a cat, a dog, or a familiar. And I thought that the familiar was a good fit for this particular marathon, and also just a cutie in general. So I'm now heading out to the ocean. We need to find our way to Relia. The rogue cannot swim, so...
Yeah, I was gonna say, you gotta watch out for the tides here, which come and go on their own cycle. And in order to not fall in the water, you obviously need to get a boat. But that boat becomes a little bit important later, and the reason you do the ocean now is because of routing involving the boat, right?
Yes, later on there's going to be some mobs that destroy boats, and so we want to make sure that they do not spawn until after we're done using boats. So this is Relia. This is based on H.P. Lovecraft. It is based on a supposedly non-Euclidean city. And so Zeno thought that it would be a good fit for the game. It is also going to be one of the main sources of RNG time loss, because all of the exits, all of the routing is random, and so I don't know how long it's going to take us to get out of here. We need 10 treasures before we can get out. That's the goal of the game, is to get 10 treasures in 9 different types. That will open the gates to hell, which will let us get some demon daisies, which will let us get the game-winning item, and that will be kind of a mini quest in itself. And the Relia is very dangerous because these fire cultists throw fire at us, and we have to move off of it. Okay, good RNG here. We already have a way out of Relia. So now we are on our way to the Living Fjord. And here's one right here. Again, very good RNG. Found one right away. There are magic orbs in the game that give us powers. They're consumable and pretty unreliable, and so they're not really part of the speedrun route. But when I hit Shift F to get out of trouble, what it's doing is it's giving me some of those magic orb powers. And the game-winning item is a magic orb. So these are the guys who destroy boats. They are very dangerous.
And that's why you already want to have used your boat now. You already used it to cross the ocean. You don't need it anymore, because on the off chance that one of those things is going to follow you or chase you, any boat you have stockpiled would just be eliminated.
Yes, and if they come up to you while you're in the middle of the ocean, then there is nothing you can do about that.
And nowhere to go if they take your boat out from underneath you.
Yep. Okay, so now we are looking for an entrance to hell.
Wait, no, we're not. Kappa.
These eagles move twice. They can only attack on their first move, but they are super dangerous because they move so fast.
So you haven't needed to go to every one of the available areas. You only need to go to as many areas as you need to trigger the game-winning
Correct.
Or to
And so we have routed out basically the 9 fastest lands. And Vipul is the world record holder and was really instrumental. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Okay. Sometimes I don't see hell and I get worried that I missed something. But sometimes it just doesn't spawn.
And that's one that will only spawn once you have all the requisite items ahead of it.
Right. This is also a land we cannot dip because Xena was very clever and implemented an algorithm to prevent dipping. Boy, I am not not having a smooth run here, but it's going great. And so we need 25 treasures from here. And so you cannot get 25 treasures while dipping. We could get 10, but 25 is too many.
Is that because you have to go in farther into the area than dipping would allow you to?
Right.
Because dipping involves just kind of briefly dipping into the area, keeping sight of the exit, and then leaving again so you don't get lost. But now SpriteGuard is just in this area right now, and we'll have to navigate a way out without actually knowing where it's located.
And the reason that we need 25 treasures here is because once you get 10 treasures from an area, then that area's magic orb will start spawning. And it will spawn in the land that it comes from and in the crossroads. So this is the other main big source of time loss, is getting out of hell. If you get 25 treasures from that land, then it will start spawning everywhere. And so Vipul, as part of our efforts to make this game reasonably marathon safe, came up with the idea of getting 25 treasures there to ensure that we would get the game-winning item in the most convenient place possible, which is going to be this place called the Hive. We are now looking for 2 things. We are looking for Relia, and we are looking for the Hive. And we need both of those in order to execute Graveyard Skip. So this is the Hive. We need to go alongside the Hive until we find Relia. And the Graveyard Skip is basically you're supposed to go to the graveyard and get these dead orbs that you use as breadcrumbs. But Vipul found a much faster way of doing this.
This is actually probably one of my favorite parts of the run. I absolutely love this strat, and I love the reasons and why it works. If you remember those, I'm going to get the name wrong, those tentacles that come out and chase you, those, just keep your eye on those.
They are, in fact, called tentacles.
Are they?
So let's find one of those.
Yeah, because the cool thing about those tentacles is they will just chase you forever and ever and ever. And they have no maximum length as far as I know. And so as long as you keep them on screen, there's one. As long as you keep them nearby you, it will just continue to chase you for as long as it possibly can. And that is actually a good thing.
I mentioned that it is very easy to get lost. And what we need to do here is we need right side touching. We need to be able to find our way back to that orb once we get this key. There's another place I can lose time here is if the key spawns someplace that I cannot reach it. Did I say right side or left side?
You said right side.
Perfect. We may have a bit of a Benny Hill moment here, but I think I'm going to be able to avoid it. If I touch that yellow ring there, or green ring, 50 bugs, 50 enormous bugs are going to attack me. So we want to avoid that.
So you're using the tentacle right now as a guide in place of the breadcrumbs because you know that this tentacle has been tracking you the entire time and you know where the orb is in relation to the tentacle. So as soon as you get the key, you're going to be able to use the tentacle to find your way back through a landscape that would otherwise be impossible to navigate in this way. The tentacle is your guide.
Yes. And so time is going to be coming up once I get back to the orb, which is pretty soon.
Yep, now he's following that tentacle all the way back. This would be downright impossible to do if this tentacle were not here.
While we're still going, I'll share some love for SpriteGuard from the donators. We have an anonymous $25 donation that just says, "Yay, SpriteGuard."
Oh no. I can't get back. I'm just gonna cheat because
That's literally never happened before.
Oh, it has happened many times before.
It's a marathon. It's literally never happened.
Hey, I do not lie. Hey, it's time. Time.
Hey, good job.
How did we do?
15 minutes and 13 seconds.
Wonderful. So my estimate was 30 minutes. So I do have some filler that we can do, or we can just move on with the marathon. All right. So HyperRogue is a game made by a research mathematician. And this game has some serious math in it. And so, like, this game is the subject of ongoing mathematical research. And this is solve geometry. Hyperbolic geometry is weird, it's counterintuitive, but you can learn it. Solve geometry was not even possible to visualize until last year sometime. And it looks like I have some hyperbugs after me. Let's see if I can get away from them. I have a lot of them. Oh wow, I have hundreds of them after me. So you can see these kind of donut shapes. Those are actually infinite. I'm going to actually take us to the crossroads so I can show this a little bit better.
Yeah,
So you can see the world kind of looks like these two donuts. What's really happening is the world is stretched in this way that if we look over to that direction, it's actually shorter to go down and around. And so if we go inside of this ring here, it's actually from the inside, it's going to look like that donut that we saw above us. And so it's just really hard to understand, really interesting stuff that I am just so in love with.
So for those that were so inclined, you could you could still technically play the game this way.
You could. It would be extraordinarily difficult. There's also a live, like, real-time mode that you can fly around and you can do races. You can play the game as a first-person shooter. You can play it as a high-score game. This is one of the ways I describe this game is it's like I picked up this game that I thought would be a cute gimmick involving some interesting math, and it turned out to be Skyrim. It's like, it's a huge game with so much stuff in it. And there is, I could keep showing you stuff forever. How are we doing? Do you have time for more stuff?
I do at least have a donation from Meridia, who donated $10 and says, "Go Sprite, break geometry." So that's a vote.
Okay. I'm going to reset. I am going to start Classic. And then I am going to go into 3D configuration and turn on first-person perspective, and I'm going to go into special modes, and I'm going to turn on shoot-'em-up mode. And now, the game is a first-person shooter.
Oh no, this is just like that dream I had.
And I actually play it with the shooting turned off. Now, it may look like we are zooming in. That's because they actually figured out how parallax should work in this game, and it turns out it doesn't. There is no parallax in hyperbolic geometry. And so, apologies if this is giving anyone motion sickness. But
It's like one of those images where they just keep zooming in and it's like bigger and bigger on the inside, like a
yeah.
frame.
And this, I have had dreams like this. Like the first time I saw this, it blew my mind because it was like I dreamed of this. And we can see the giant ivies.
This really puts the game in a different perspective, and not only to make a pun, but just like, wow, this stuff is really scary if you were actually walking around in there.
And then the last thing here is there are dragons. And you can actually fight the dragons, you can ride the dragons. There's so much cool stuff. Fighting the dragons is my favorite thing. There's also these baby turtles. You can try and rescue baby turtles and take them to their parents.
Aw, look, aw.
And the dragons will shoot fire at us. They will try to attack us. They can fly over the chasms. And there's just, I really recommend. You can get this game for free on the developer's website. Just search for HyperRogue. You can also get it on Steam. It's, I think, $10 now. Zeroth Power. Circle strafing and hyperbolic geometry is hard. It is. Circles are much bigger in hyperbolic geometry. And that does make things very difficult. So, that is not everything I have to share, but I think that's everything I should share for now. So, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.